good morning, and welcome to another edition of Think and Grow Rich Mastermind. My name is Dr. Peter A. James, and I'm so excited to be your host today as we dive into this book, Another Day, Another Page of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And today we have a very special masterclass of some beautiful angels who are here to show and demonstrate how Think and Grow Rich has been influential in their lives. And I'm not alone today. I do have another distinguished host. You know her very, very well, the master builder. Ann McNeil, can you come in today and share your wisdom with us today?
Well, Peter, I am doubling today as a co-host, but
Mhm.
also I'm one of the panelists today. So this is going to be very exciting and it's going to be a very interesting morning because I am so honored. I'm blessed to be here with my sisters that have been on this journey, all of us together for 10, 20, 30 plus years. And so again, Ann McNeil, the master wealth builder, helping to build stronger, better lives and businesses. And I cannot say enough about my journey with them. And so we'll get into a little bit about that this morning. But let's get started.
Let's dive on in. I'm very curious, and so I know, and those of us who've watched for some time know that Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is the backdrop of what how you've been very successful in your own career, in your own life, and now you're bringing to us your mastermind. And give us a little background, if you could, on this group before we introduce these beautiful ladies.
Well, I'll start with the always the story that starts with December 31st, 1979, 9 p.m., when I picked up a copy of the book for the very first time
Hmm.
and started to read it, but more importantly, allowed the book to read me. And as that process started in the desire chapter, and I realized that for the first time in my life, I really had not had a dream to have a dream come true. I really had not had a desire of and a certain amount of money and did not know that I should. And so as I continued to read that night and came to the point of being broken and hopeless, I realized that I never wanted to live that way again. And as I began to wonder what else could I do, I continued to read and came upon the chapter that talked about starting a mastermind group. And the author said that just simply, get like minded and like spirited individuals together to serve as an accountability partner on you and you on them. And
Hmm.
so I started giving the book away to friends. And years later, ran into a number of the ladies who are here tonight, starting with Isabella Rivers, and then my good friend Alice, which you're going to meet tonight. And then, of course, Nafreda, Mia, Lawanda, and a couple of them are not here tonight, but we are, excuse me, this morning, sorry, that we are going to just share some of our experiences. I like to call it the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it was
Mm,
not always good, if you will. And it was never really easy because when we decide to work on ourselves,
yeah.
it is a process and it's a journey and it's not a bed of roses. And so that's a little backdrop. And each of the ladies came on the journey at different points in their life and in their career, and they'll get a chance to share their aha moments, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the awesomeness of the process and these principles.
So that's so awesome. Excited to hear about some of the stories, the inner workings of the mastermind group. You're this historic mastermind group to a certain extent, but you started out by introducing them a little bit. I was hoping now you could introduce them one at a time and bring
Sure.
them, and then we could bring them to the forefront if possible.
Absolutely. And I'll start actually in the order that I met them. And so we'll
Yeah.
start first with Miss Isabella Rivers. And I've said, she has a phrase she's coined that she says that she wants to see the state of Florida. We're from the state of Florida through the eyes of a tourist. So when she started her tourist business because she loved to travel. So our first uh, masterminder, if you will, is Miss Isabella Rivers. And good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, Miss Rivers. How are you, Izzy?
I'm
Love to
doing
call you Izzy.
fantastic. What about yourself, Mrs. McNeil?
Awesome, awesome. But let me keep going
Yes.
before I run out of time. And
Mhm,
so
mhm.
the next person in this journey is none other than our eldest sister of the group, the mother of us all. I learned so much and still learning from her is none other than Miss Alice Fincher. Good morning, Miss Alice. How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored, Miss Ann
Yes, yes,
McNeil.
yes, you are. And then next, of course, in the order would be Nefreda Thomas. Good morning, Nefreda.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Morning.
Good to see my sisters.
Thank you. And then, of course, we have none other than the queen of the group, Miss Lawanda. Lawanda, good morning.
Good morning, ladies. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is the crew. This is the crew. This is the tribe. And I cannot say enough. Cannot say enough.
Well, I'm so excited there, and I want to dive on in. We heard a little bit about your introductory story to Think and Grow Rich back in 1979, if I'm not mistaken. But I'd love to hear a little bit of the introduction to this phenomenal text by everyone that's here on this session today. So let's start off with Lawanda. Lawanda, what was the experience like when you first were introduced to Think and Grow Rich and this mastermind?
Um, Good question. I was very young. Hmm, I venture to say I was in my late 20s. I had recently had a very tragic experience, and I was living with my father, and he was kind of coddling me because of my experience. And a cousin of mine called me up and said, "Hey, if you want to, I know a group of ladies who are really trying to be encouraging and motivating to one another. You should try to come to this meeting." And so my experience was one that I participated in a meeting with a lot of women who were, much older than me. Not a whole lot older, but definitely much older than me. And so it was kind of a little intimidating at first. But once I understood what we were trying to do, it was easy peasy.
Very, very cool. And the book was a part of that introduction to the
Well,
ladies.
it was because in order to become part of the mastermind, the Think and Grow Rich was like our Bible. So it was the book you had to read in order to really understand the whole point of us coming together on a regular basis.
What were your first impressions of the book?
I would say in the very beginning, it was
Yeah.
a little bit challenging to read it. But if you read it, you've read that it says, you should read this book every year. And so
Mm.
every time I pick it up to read it again, it gets easier and easier. But I would say that in the very beginning, for me,
Yeah.
it was a little bit challenging because there was a lot of stories involved around the principles, but the principles in and of themselves were easy to understand.
Appreciate you saying that, Luanda, because those of us who have read it multiple times now, we take that for granted that it the first time around it should be easy for everybody like it is for us, but it's not necessarily the case. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to jump over to Nefreda. Nefreda, how are you doing today?
Good
Can you take
morning,
over?
doctor. How are you, sir?
Good, good. Feel free to call me Peter. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Want to hear about your experience with the group as well as with this phenomenal text.
Okay. Well, my story is very, very different. Um, I was young. I can tell you it was 1992
Okay.
when I became a part of the group. And when I became a part of the group in 1992, my story is very unique. Anne is or was a very close friend of my mother. And being a very close friend of my mother, I was the oldest child in the house of my mom's. So that's Aunt Anne to me.
Right.
So at that time, she saw a need that my mother was not willing to recognize that there was a need, meaning that I was one of those kids that I'm going to live with my mother forever. I'm not going nowhere. I'm constantly going to be here. And so there was no direction for me. Went to college, had a job, but wanted to stay home with my mom.
Mhm.
And Anne knew, because that's her friend, that was a little challenging. So what she wanted to do is try to help me to understand that there is more that you probably should look at doing besides just almost just existing to some degree. And so when she gave me the book, it was a turn off. I didn't want to read the book. Matter of fact, I put the book, I think it was under my bed. That's the funny story that Ann and I talk about. I put the book under my bed. And finally, Ann kept asking me about the book. And I went ahead and got the book and started reading it. And Peter, let me tell you, I wasn't able to put it down. At that time, it was the paperback, which was a lot easier to read, the little small paperback. So Ann taught me how to read it at the red light and take out a page, because it's your book, you can take out a page. So I read it at the red light, take out a page, and I'm on the next page. So that was my first experience with just reading the book in the beginning.
Mhm.
But as I began to pay attention to the principles, I saw what she was trying to instill, which was there is something else you can do that can be more fulfilling for you. And I will say that my first impressions were as I explained, but at the same time, because I began to just do the things she shared, I began to have my own sense of having to read the book, because then my desires changed, my thoughts changed, my wants changed. All of those things began to shift because of what I was reading and saw that there were some possibilities. So I would have to say that's my first experience in a nutshell.
Love to hear. I love the under the bed, putting the book under the bed. Love that. Love to hear about that. But he's also even love to hear how you finally were able to dive into it in your own way and what worked for you. So that's definitely something great to hear. Isabella, good day to you. I hope you are doing well. Thank you so much for joining us today. Would love to also hear your introduction to not only this book, Think and Grow Rich, but also to the mastermind in general. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I first encountered Anne through Nefreda, really, because
Hmm.
she was in Amway and I was in Amway, and she introduced me to Anne through Amway. I went to Anne's office to pick up some Amway material because Anne was up there in Amway, and that's when I met Alice. And I lost contact after meeting Anne for that first time. I lost contact with her, but then I think about a couple of years later, I saw Anne in the grocery store. It was Winn-Dixie at the time, and we recognized each other. And she invited me to her home. She said, "Come with me. I want to show you something." And here she drove me to this big. To me, it was a mansion,
Hmm.
and anyway, we talked, and then she told me about. I don't think she had the name for the group then, but she told me about what she was beginning to get started with, and she invited me to her home for the meeting. At that meeting, this is the book that Anne, I don't know if you all can see it, Anne
Yep.
gave me. It's signed. Let me see, how can I do it? It's 19, no, it's this way. I don't know if you can see it.
A little bit.
19,
Yes, we
I ain't
can.
gonna okay, it's August the 6th, 1994. She
Mm.
signed this book that says, Is He Think and Grow Rich with and in Christ, Love, and August 6th, 1994. The next week she had the meeting, and I think that at that meeting, it was only Nefreda and and I can't think of who else was there, but I think it was one more other person. I forgot her name. She had a little boy, but anyway, she was friends to Ann and Freda. And so, in knowing Ann, she and instill in me that I can be more than what I was thinking I am. And then I was going through a divorce at that time. And
Mhm.
after meeting her at the second meeting, I said right there in my mind, I said, I'm going to get a divorce and I'm going to better myself. I just finished, I think I just finished Florida Memorial University. I had a bachelor's of science, and I thought I could be more than that. So going through the divorce, then that's when I became, uh, uh, well, I don't know how I became interested in cruising and touring, but then that's what I wanted to go into, and that's what I'm into as of today. I became an ambassador with Cruise Line International Association. I'm a
Mm.
cruise and tour person, so I wanted to travel over the world, and I've been doing that, and it's all through the instillment of and Think and Grow Rich. I read it every year, and that's why I had it by my bed. That's why I could pick it up now. I went to my bed because on the first, I'll start reading it again. So, make a long story short, through Ann, I became Think and Grow Rich. Thank you.
Love the story, love the background overall. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to go to Alice now. Alice, good to see you. Thank you again for joining us. Would love to hear about your introduction to Think and Grow Rich and to this phenomenal mastermind.
It's quite interesting. When I first met Ann, I thought I had it all. I was married. I had a nice house, and I was had a nice job. And when I met Ann, she introduced me to Think and Grow Rich.
Mhm.
She told me that I could do better. Undoubtedly, she saw something in me that I did not see, that I needed, and I appreciated. So when I started reading, and I was not a reader, like Lafreda, I was not a reader. I got by quite well on my own without too much reading. And Anne was one who started me to read, and I'm glad of that because now I read quite a bit.
Okay.
But Think and Grow Rich really started me on a different avenue of my life. It added a good side of me. It helped me to recognize who I truly was and not just a farce of someone else of pretending. And that's what I saw at that particular time.
Yeah.
And I became a different person, a loving person, and started to recognize Alice Spade Fincher, who I truly am at this point. And now I do quite a bit of reading at this point.
Thank you so much, Alan. I love to hear how the book changed your life, how the mastermind itself changed your life overall. And I heard that resonate in your voice as you were telling the story. The next question I'm going to ask for you all, and I'm going to ask it after the video that we're getting ready to show, which jumps into the 13 principles, these 13 chapters of Think and Grow Rich. And the question is going to be, what is your favorite principle? And then how that has played out in your life to a certain extent. When we come back from the video, we're going to ask Anne, of course, but let's give it a minute and hear about these 13 principles before we dive back into the conversation.
Number one is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step two is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step three is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically. But we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the wild, wild west days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
The 13 principles, the 13 steps, the 13 chapters, whatever you desire to call them, those were those principles behind Think and Grow Rich. I want to bring us back to our conversation with our mastermind group today. Ann McNeil, what is the name of this mastermind? You never really just identified that for us. Could you please?
Oh, we've had so many names. Oh my goodness. Mastermind Women, Mastermind Empowerment Group. We ended up, I don't know if anybody, Wanda, any of you may remember what we ended up finally calling ourselves, because in the beginning it was just one group. Do any of you remember what Izzy, Alice, anybody remember?
Association, International Mastermind Association.
Right, but that was at the end. That was at the end. In the beginning,
Just Mastermind Association, Mastermind Women Association. I got it written down. I got everything in the garage.
Okay,
I got
women.
some notes.
So
I
Dr.
got some
Merrick
notes in the
seems to
chat that say,
remember Masterminds Women Group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mastermind
In the Mastermind Women
Mastermind Women Group.
Group.
Because it was just, but Peter, in the
Association.
very beginning, it was just one group.
Mhm.
So we were a group of women finding our way, actually.
Yvette,
Women.
we didn't have a
No.
name, Peter. We just met every week.
Right. So it's
Well, we
almost like
came
the
up with a
pinnacle.
name. That's the
We
question.
came up with a name several years later, but
Yes, years.
you're asking when we started, we didn't
Yeah.
have a name, and we didn't have a name for
No.
several years.
Mastermind
remember
Women's
that.
Group for years. Later, like
That's
she
it.
said, later,
That's it.
we were just Mastermind Women's Group.
Wow.
And actually, one of the other things many of us had in common is that we worshiped together at New Birth Baptist Church in Miami. And I think maybe half of us, Wanda, maybe half of us, you, myself, Juanita, Gail, Lefreda, yeah, almost half of us, Peter, worship together.
Yeah. That's great. I also love to hear how there was groups that spun off from this group. That's what I'm hearing a little bit of as well. So it sounds like it was so influential that it impacted many other groups.
Actually, we met, if my memory serves me correctly, I think it might have been 10 straight years
Wow.
before that happened. There's a short story I told Mia when we started our first one. I won't share that on the air, but I was convicted by the spirit of being the person that did not share this wonderful gift with others, because people would ask us, individually, what are you doing? We see the difference in you, and what is it? How can we join? And we were just so, what's the word, Mia? We were so, Wanda, what
I
were
don't
we?
know. I mean, people. I do. As a matter of fact, my friend who masterminds with me now, when she first saw me, and I would tote around my 2 or 3 books at a time and talk about what I did on Saturday, she would be like, "What? What? You could read 2 and 3 books at a time, and y'all get up every morning? It's every Saturday at 7. What? Who does that?" And I said, "We've been doing it for years." And now she's all in, master. Now she can do the same thing, toting around 2 and 3 books, reading, waking up early in the morning on Saturdays to meet. So interesting.
Well,
Yeah,
Peter,
okay,
I
Peter.
will tell you that we were extremely territorial. I will give you the word because I was the queen of the territorial. I did not want to let nobody in. You better hear me. That was not what I wanted to do. So I felt that, and the reason for that, Peter, let me share with you, because of the way we started this group and because of how sensitive what we were doing was to all of us, it was important that what I shared with these ladies, that I did not hear it again. It was important that I was able to be as open, as wrong, or as right as I needed to be in this safety net. And when you don't have like minds and like spirits in the same space, then you have a problem. All of us were like-minded and we were all in the same space. I might have wanted to do widgets. Isabella might have wanted to sell boats. LaWanda might have wanted to do Mary Kay, but it didn't matter. When we came together, because of the mastermind principles, we were able to give each other ideas, thoughts, and ways to enhance whatever it is that we wanted to do. It didn't matter what it was. So that for me meant that we have a cohesive group that works well together. Somebody else may not understand why we get up and beat somebody's house by 8. Somebody may not understand why we got fish and grits and everything cooked and ready to go for the group meeting at 8:30 a.m.
She's saying 8. We used to meet at 7.
7.
Yeah, 7 a.m.
You know, Ann made those calls to us, Peter, at 4 a.m. She's calling us. And then she called you like it ain't no big deal. Good morning, child. How you doing? I say, and it's 4:00. And say, yeah, but we got to be to the house in a couple of hours. Are you cooking? Are you bringing anything? I mean, and what did you read? Now, I hate for you to come to the meeting. You don't got no report. So you might want to get up now and get a little something done. So nobody, you can't expose that to everybody. So that for me are things that I remember so dearly. And it really has helped shape me to be the woman that I am today. I must say that.
So I want to stay right there. I'm hearing that safe space that it's so important to have in this mastermind group that Nefreda just mentioned there. I'm going to go around the room, starting with Wanda again. Definitely want to hear about your favorite principle, but also maybe a little bit of a story of how this safe space had benefited you in your career or in your life. I just want to hear one simple way that that it's a direct result of getting up at 7 a.m. on Saturday mornings. So Wanda, I know it's a loaded question, but
It is really loaded.
well, you know what?
I
Let
would
me start out
say,
with Ann McNeil then, because I know she's got an answer.
okay.
Because she's got stories for us. So Ann, your favorite principle and maybe a direct result of that. And then I'm coming to Wanda right after that.
Wow, out of the 13 is tough to choose one. And if I had to choose one, it would probably be desire. It would be desire. And as a part of that desire, those 6 steps that I continue to this day to live by. And very simply, that's how much, doing what, by when. And writing an affirmation statement, then repeating it twice a day. And the story for me with that was the idea of desiring to make and save $1,000. And literally it took me 10 years from the day we started because I had to dig out of debt, lots of debt, lots and lots and lots of debt. But I realized after 10 years of doing that it was not what I did, but who I was becoming. Because if I could do it for $1,000 a year, which was my desire to save, I could do it for $1,000 a day, which is what my desire is now, passive, to do that a day passive. So I would say my principle would be desire.
Yeah. Love to hear that story. Thank you so much. And I love the simplicity of that story as well. Wanda, coming back to you next. Favorite principle and maybe a story behind it or the mastermind in general?
My favorite principle would be mastermind. The mastermind group itself. Because to be very honest, that's the thread. Even though you really need to master all of the other 12, they're not going to benefit you if you don't come together in the group. The whole point of the group is to not just be an accountable part of it, but the group in and of itself becomes one. Like that's the whole point of the concept, is your mind and everybody else's mind starts melding together for this really wonderful, amazing mind. And that amazing mind kind of like puts you, it's kind of like the what's the other principle, the specialized knowledge. So everybody comes with their own specialized knowledge, and we all have this one think tank of a mind. And once the synergy is cranking on all levels, it really is amazing, like amazing. But again, I need to be really clear. Your mastermind group has to be so strategically well put together for that synergy to occur. And it will naturally just rise up out of the group of people that you're working with. So for me, it would have to be the mastermind principle, the group in and of itself, the principle of having a mastermind group. And as a result of that, I've always been a part of a group.
How have you seen it benefit? How have you seen it benefit your career or your business, for that matter?
I've always stayed in the mastermind group, and I've always made, like, I've forced myself to do goals. Even to this day, I've already written out my goals for 2022. I've already sat down with my mastermind partner and say, hey, here are my goals, and here is the strategy for getting them.
Yeah.
So, like, it's kept me in a posture of always planning.
Love that. Love to hear that. Love to hear that direct correlation there. I'm going to ask Nefreda about your favorite principle, and again how that also may have tied in, or how you've seen an outcome as it relates to your business career, or even your life for that matter. So, what do you think, Nefreda?
Well, for me, I guess you know from my last outburst that, of
It
course,
was
the
not a
mastermind group is my favorite. Um, but I will say, for the sake of making sure that we are blended, I do have a story about the auto suggestion.
Yeah.
Because while the mastermind group has to be cohesive and work together, auto suggestion is important for me because what you do outside of Saturday feeds into the next Saturday. So if I'm spending time looking at TV all day, I'm not feeding my auto suggestion to be able to remember that I need to do what is it that what are my goals? What am I doing to remind myself of those goals? So for me, it's how we function when we're separate from each other so that we will be able to come together and make sense when we are together. So what I needed to do was, when I read auto suggestion, it helped me to automatically want to, and I saw it, I did it with Ann. Ann helped me with the process. She said, instead of try to start leaving the TV off, because I'm a TV person. She said, try leaving the TV off for 30 minutes. And that was like, biting nails for me. And so when I finally started experiencing that, she said, pick up a book instead. I said, yeah, and I've already read Think and Grow Rich. She said, no, read it again or read something else. Because we had so many books that we went through, Acres of Diamonds, so many other books that Anne gave us to go through, I had other choices. So she started telling me to automatically start thinking and wanting and desiring something different. So the way that helped me with my business is I decided that I did not want to ever have a 9 to 5 anymore. Where did I get that? I couldn't come to that conclusion if I didn't believe that I could function as being in my own business. Where do I get that belief from? From the group that I'm around, from the decisions that I make on a day-to-day basis. And what am I going to pay attention to? What am I going to study? What am I going to read? How am I going to get myself to not having to work a 9 to 5? How am I going to do that? So when keeping that desire on your mind, that is what really helped me to stay on the path of not having a 9 to 5. If that was the only desire that I had, that's the only one that was important because that's the one that I wanted. That's the one thing Ann taught us when we started this group. Your desire is your desire. It's not mine. You've got to be able to talk about the thing that you want to do and tell me how you're going to get there. And we're here to help you stay on that path. So I really must say that that's how I really saw that auto suggestion, to be able to automatically want to do something different besides what I'm accustomed to doing, which really wasn't feeding into my goals at all.
Yeah, love that. Thank you so much, Nefreda. Really hear how that auto suggestion and even that mastermind principle really has benefited your life and your career. Isabella, hope you are doing well over there. Want to bring you
Yes.
into this conversation, especially around your favorite principle, but also how you've seen it benefit you, your life and your career or your business, how the mastermind has also benefited you from that perspective as well.
Okay, mastermind benefited me. First, I had to have the desire.
Mm,
That's my favorite subject right there is the desire, because my bishop teaches us, and I just, matter of fact, I just text my pastor. Where's that scripture that says you have to have the mind to do? And that's what I had. I had the desire and I had the mind to do, to be where I am now. When I became ambassador with Cruise Line International Association, I had the mind, because I went to a conference and they asked how many was in there. They gave different levels. They said, how many in among thousands of people
Mhm.
are cruise line ambassadors? And only two blacks stood up. And I was one, and the other one was from Chicago. I had the mind, I had the desire to do it. And then I got the specialized knowledge. I went and I took a year and a half of the courses to learn every creek, every swamp, every ocean, anywhere that cruise line went all over the country. I took those classes, and it took me a while to finish it. So I had the mind, and reading this book gave me the desire. I wrote
Mhm.
everything down. I put pictures up. That auto suggestion. I went to sleep listening to the lessons. So to me, that was the most important part of the Think and Grow Rich, is to have the desire to do what you want to do and be what you want to be. Because when I joined the Masterminders, I didn't have a desire. I didn't want to be anything. I wanted to be married. That was not working out for me. But after
Yeah.
attending this, and Ann could tell you, I went to 2 meetings. I came in a beat up car. And when that meeting was over, I went to one of those um, auto dealers, and I said, you can have this car. I want that car right there. I call in. I said, I'm driving off with a new car. I had that mind. I had that desire. So you got to have that desire. And I didn't even have not 1 quarter. He said, how much could you put down? I said, I don't have any money, but you can have that car. And that's what I said, I'm going to take this car. And I drove off with a 1994 stick shift. Didn't know how to drive it either. Stick shift Ford Explorer, but I got it home. So you have to have that desire, and that's what I teach my youth and we do Think and Grow Rich at with my youth department. That's my little mastermind group, and I got,
Mm.
this is off the cuff. I got two that's going to Florida Memorial University
Nice.
in January.
Nice.
Okay.
Congratulations. That's awesome. So awesome to hear. I'm glad that truck made it home in one
It
piece.
did. It did. And I didn't hit no one. And I went on the expressway too. I was in the far right lane. I call that's my lane, because older people driving that far right lane. And I got it home.
Good for
Thank
you.
you,
Good
and thank you,
stuff.
Masterminders.
Good stuff. Alice, I see we have not forgotten about you, Alice. We want to hear about your favorite principle, but also how you've seen this play out in your own life, your career, or your business as well, this mastermind or this principle.
The two subjects that inspired me are persistence and the power of the mastermind.
Yeah.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Mhm.
And I did not know that. I did not develop my mind. And helped me to think and grow rich, to develop my mind. That I had a mind that I could do all things, anything that I so desired that I could do.
Yeah.
Think and grow rich is a subject. It is not all about money.
Mm.
It's about being. And that's what I realized. That being, you can become whoever you want to become. And I developed that. I am now retired from the school system, and I and I'm studying now in my church
Mhm.
ministry. I've had 4 months of ministry of learning to be studying the Bible and learning to know about God
Mhm.
and who He is, and letting Him lead me in that I can do all things, as I said, through
Yeah.
Christ who strengthens me. And I try to teach that not only constantly each day. I wake up in the morning and I thank God for the day, and I thank Him for what He's going to teach me for that day, and learn that each day has its own. And I go from there. And I try to teach others, the younger people. They need that to
Yeah.
reach back to help take someone else along with you.
I love that. I love that there. that you spoke about. It's not just about making money. It's really, really not just about making money. It's more about, as you said, just the being, the mindset, as I like to call it. How do you have this mindset that you can do all things, as you have mentioned there? And so I thank you all for diving on in. Our time is getting short. I want to ask you one more question. Actually, we got this from Mia in the chat here. The question I have is, how do you think your lives would be different if you were not able to apply this mastermind? What do you think it might have looked like? And I've heard a little bit of this, how many of us were just shooting for mediocre. I'm going to start out with Ann on this. And Ann, I hope initially you could start out by telling us how about your latest mastermind venture, your beta venture, if you could, as well, before we dive into that question.
Oh, before.
Before, yes, please. Tell us, lead off with that, please. Yes.
That other one's a scary one to
Yeah,
think
right.
of. Wow. Well, because there has been such a demand for this information in our process, and actually, right behind me on this side, I have Dr. Mia Merritt's books on both sides of me. And then I have my book here on how to start and run a successful mastermind group. And I say that because we're starting a beta test group inside of the International Mastermind Association, which is a not-for-profit organization. And we are creating best practices for masterminders. There are many people, thousands, if not millions, all over the world that mastermind, but there are many that would like to know how. There's some mastermind groups that are free, and there are some that are for fee. And our beta test right now is a free group as a part of the International Mastermind Association. And you can go to internationalmasterminders.com/group mastermind to join our group. The time is limited and space is limited. We're hosting a 1-hour beta test once a month. And we come together and we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly about masterminding. And so if you're interested in being a part of this beta test, you must currently be in a mastermind group. This organization is for groups to hold each other accountable, teaching each other best practices from the groups. If you're interested in getting in a group and being an individual masterminder, you can speak and meet with some of the people who are taking people in their groups, fee or free, that's up to you. But what our desire is to do is to create best practices. And again, you can go there. And then I'd also like to talk about the International Masterminders annual meeting that we're hosting on the 7th of January and the 8th of January. And that will be held in Boca Raton at the Embassy Suites, our Thinking Grow Rich International Mastermind Association annual meeting. This is not a conference. There will be no keynote speakers and no conference bags. This is a meeting for your life. As we talk about the 10 areas of your life, we're asking you to bring your life in writing. And if you don't have a plan, we will provide you with a survey you can use before you enter, but you must come with something in your hand that you've written about your own life. And so those are our announcements, if you will. Now, back to your question.
Yes.
Wow. How would my life be different is a scary thought, really. I would probably still be on my corporate job in Palm Beach County, probably getting ready to retire. A miserable soul I would be. Yes, because that's where I was when this book found me, or I found the book. I was a miserable soul in my corporate job, deeply in debt. And I would like to suggest, if I had not done this process, it wouldn't be a pretty picture. And I'm very serious about that, because I desired a better quality of life. I just did not know where to go to find it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. It makes me think a whole lot of stuff about my own. I want to bring Wanda in to reflect on her question as it relates to what would be different about your life. What do you think would be different about your life if you had not been introduced to this mastermind scenario?
I don't know. It would definitely not I don't know. um, so, not to make my response super long, but
Yeah.
so in Mastermind, we also did what we called uh, really work on building a success conscious.
Hmm.
And in our strategy for doing that was to read books that would help us change how we view goal setting and accomplishing goals, how to think differently. So there was a Think Big that we read. There was Master Keys to Success, or there was was it Mastermind, the Glenn Bland method.
Right. Right. Yep.
I mean, there were several books that we've read along the way that helped me think differently about how to approach life.
Yeah.
So had that not been because that was part of being in the group. So
Mhm.
had I not really early on started changing how I thought about things and how I um, approached things, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today. Now, I still work a corporate job, but I also own two businesses.
Nice.
Just got into trucking last year. And for me, I don't feel limited in doing anything I desire to do.
Mhm.
And maybe if it were not for Mastermind, I probably would see myself as someone, how typically people see themselves. I can only do one thing. Well, I don't feel that way. I feel like, and I know I can do several things at the same time. And I don't think I would have had that mindset if I hadn't masterminded as long as I have been. Because again, I've been doing it for many years now. That's my answer.
I love your answer. I've been asked in my ear to ask when you started masterminding, what year it was. Do you remember?
94.
94. Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Let's go and let's bring in someone else. Nefreda, hope you are well. Hope you heard the question, of course, about how do you think your life would be different? What do you think it would look like if you had not been deep in this mastermind process?
Well,
Definitely different.
it would not be what we're experiencing at this moment.
Right.
I would have to say that from a very serious position. As I shared with you in the very beginning, I wanted to forever live, be my mom's road dog. We shop together. I live at her house. That's what I wanted to do. And if it had not been for this group and for what Anne decided to do with me as a help, if you will, to her friend, I would not have been in the position or in the mindset to be able to care for my mother at her end of life.
Mm.
My mother needed a lot of care, and needed somebody that understood what needed to be done and when it needed to be done and how quickly. It required somebody who had a mastermind. It really did. And if I had not began with Anne at that time, I would not have been able to be the daughter that she needed when she needed me the most. That is the most biggest thing I think I would have not been able to do, because I would not have had the mindset to do it, because I assumed that she would be here for a very, very long time. And while she was here, I assumed that she'd be able to function. So that for me is very real. And had I not had this group and the relationships and the things I went through, I would have never been able to do what I had to do. And in a nutshell, for me, Peter, what masterminding is to me you have a lot of balls up in the air. You have a lot of circles. You have a lot of stuff going on. To me, masterminding is everything under control.
Keep you
That's what
grounded.
masterminding is. Everything
Yeah.
under control. That's what
Yeah.
masterminding does. It puts all of those balls you have in there, all those businesses, all those things under control. That's what it does.
Wow.
And I joined the group in 1992.
I too. Okay. Good stuff. That's powerful, Nefreda. I know someone who's hearing that is going to be like, reflect on that and be wow, and be like, wow. I'm going to go next to Isabella. Isabella, I know you heard the question here. We were asking about, how do you think, how can you even just imagine what your life would look like without this mastermind as well? And then we want to hear when you got started in it as well.
Okay, I got started in it in 91.
Okay.
And now my life, if I had not have joined Mastermind, I don't know what my life would have been right
Mm-hmm.
about now, because I retired and I had a very good job that paid very well. And then I had my own business too.
Yeah.
While I was working, I had my own business. I think I would have went into what I was doing while I was working. That was clothing women. I love clothes. I would go to New York and get clothes and come back and sell them. So I think I would have been into sales had I not been a part of Mastermind that changed my thinking, that I wanted something better than just selling clothes. So I took an aptitude test and it directed me to accounting. And so I guess I probably would have been in sales, and I love to travel. I would probably have been traveling, because when I retired, I had enough of it. All my kids were grown and gone, and I was divorced at the time, still divorced, well, still single. Um, I'm not throwing the little fishes out there, but I'm still I'm
It's
single.
okay. You could do that. You could do that too. It's fine.
No, no, no. But anyway, I don't know what I would be doing by now, because
Yeah.
all my kids are grown, gone. I'm traveling from one child to the other, be it Charlotte, North Carolina, be it Augusta, Georgia, be it California. Um, I guess I would have been traveling. They all just left this morning, so my family is a big part of my life. But
Sure.
to say that I know what I would be doing right about now, I couldn't tell you, because my hand is in so much, and
Yeah.
especially my church activities with my youth department, that takes up a lot of my time. And
Probably
that's all
wouldn't
I have
be
to
in
say.
as much for sure. So yeah, thank you so much,
No,
Isabella.
thank
Let's
you.
bring out. Let's bring Alice in for sure. And Alice, you heard the question. Can you even fathom what it would look like if you had not been part of this mastermind? And then tell us when you got started as well, Alice.
No, I wouldn't. I could not. I started in 1980, around 86.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was of the physical. It's my looks. I was always told I was attractive. Um, and I focused basically on my looks, and my looks got me a lot of places um, where I wanted to go. And it now I'm more physical, I'm more spiritual
Mm-hmm.
than I am of the looks. I focus, of course, I focus on my looks. I'm going to always do that. But it's not a primary part of my life.
Sure.
It's a regular part of my life. Where it would be at the time, if I had not joined Mastermind, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I am happy that I was part of that, what is, and I was part of my life.
Yeah.
And I can truly say at this point that I am mostly 95% spiritual and practicing Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alice. I appreciate it. I thank you all for being a part of this discussion. This was so beneficial and so fruitful. I even learned a ton from you all. I'm going to start back in reverse. Alice, I want to start with you all and give us just a quick way how the audience can stay in touch with you if they want to reach out to you and learn more from you. So, Alice, What is the best way to get in touch with you?
A Finch, FINCHE2
Mm-hmm.
.net.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's go to Isabella next. Isabella, how can we stay in touch with you? I think you have to come off of mute though. Make sure you come off of mute. You got to come off of mute. Got to come off of mute.
Okay, okay, all right, okay. Because I had a baby, that's why I keep it on
Yeah,
mute. Um,
sure, sure.
they can just get in touch with me. Isabel, it's my name, Isabella Rivers at yahoo.com. It's the
Nice.
best
Thank you
way.
so much. Thank you
Okay.
so much, Isabella. Nefreda, I want to bring you back in. How do we stay in touch with you?
It's N Thomas, THOMAS, at K as in kite, A as in apple, N as in Nancy, D as in David, S as in Sam, media, MEDIA.com. N Thomas
Awesome.
at KandSmedia.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nefreda. Thank you so much. And definitely last but not least, Wanda, want to make sure to bring you in and say, how do we stay in touch with you, Wanda?
You can reach me at my email address, which is scotla12@gmail. You can reach me on Facebook at Lawanda Scott. And you can reach me on my phone line, 954-547-5325.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much there, Wanda, for joining us tonight. The Master Builder, Ann McNeil. And this is a phenomenal mastermind group that you have here. How do we stay in touch with you and this group?
Wow. You can stay in touch with me by going to my website at annmcneil.com and /coaching if you want greater clarity. That's Ann McNeil, ANNMCNEILL.com /coaching. And our group, as a part of the International Mastermind Association, we would love to connect with you there at internationalmasterminders.com.
Love that. Love that. Thank you all so much for being a part of this session tonight. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your lives, a little bit of your careers, a little bit of your business with our audience. Yes, there is so much that we can relate to, so much that we can glean from you all. And just another great opportunity at this Think and Grow Rich Mastermind that we have. Continue to join us every Saturday morning, same time, same channel. My name is Dr. Peter A. James. You can find me on any social media platform at Dr. Peter A. James. That's at DrPeterAJames or at shiftyourmindset.com. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being a part of this session today. We look forward to seeing you next time, same place, same channel. Take care.